Hello, everybody. I'm pretty sure you guys had a little bit of time to go over the note names. I'm pretty sure at this point, you're pretty much a pro, right? So, that being said, let's move on to something else. Let's move on to something that allows your individual fingers to work, okay? So, what we're going to do today, we're going to go over scales. But we're not going to do the 8 note major scale, which is the big one we're trying to build up to. We're going to do the 5 note major scale, okay? So, how do we approach this? So what we're going to do, we're actually going to go through a little bit of the material that I've actually been working on. I call it playing with numbers. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually go through the theory on finding the major scale first using the formula. Okay. Now, in the previous video, we talked about what a whole step was and a half step. Let's go over that as a review. From this note to this note, it has no note in between. Half step means that you're going directly to the note next to it, the note that's actually touching it without allowing a note to be in between. Okay? It's a mouthful, but it's easy. So from here to here, those two notes are touching, but there's no note in between. Now, I know you smarty pants are going to say, well, from here to here, these notes are touching. You're right, they are touching, but there's one note in between them that separates them. If there's a note that separates them in any kind of way, any fashion, form, any kind of way, okay, that's considered to be a whole step. So this right here, these two notes are touching, but there's one note between. Same thing here. These two are touching, but there's one note here. These two are touching, and there's no note in between. So that's a half step. These are called whole steps. Okay? Now, makes sense? Now, the whole reason of that's very, very important, okay? Because it's going to allow us to walk into the next part that we're headed, which is the major scale. And we're only doing the 5 note major scale, not the 8 note. We have to take baby steps for those that have no idea. If this is boring to you, you can just go to my video for the 8 note major scale. That's fine. But for those that don't really know, I really recommend everybody to actually go through everything how I'm teaching it because it's easy to say, oh, I know that. I know how to do that. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. And you miss a lot of intricate details because I'm going to actually break it down a little farther than most people actually do. Okay? It's not surface. We're not doing anything surface level here. Okay? Now, that being the case, now the easiest one to start on is going to be C major because C major has no sharps or flats. Another word that we haven't spoke of, but don't worry about that. We're not there yet. Okay, so just start with the C major scale. So if you want to do a C major scale, the first note is going to be the name of the actual scale. Okay, in this particular situation, it's C right here. Okay, now the formula for a major scale, any major scale, is whole half, whole half. That's the 8 note one. So the actual 5 note is going to be whole, whole, half, whole, right? And you wouldn't hold the scale down like this. I'm just doing it for informational purposes, okay? All right, so from C to D, it has one note in between, right? One note's in between. And then from D to E, one note's in between, so that's a whole. And then E to F, that's a half step right there. And from F to G, that's a whole. So name first. You always gotta start with a name. So you can see where you're going. Whole, half, whole. Okay? Now, we're only doing one hand at a time right now. Because trying to do both hands at the same time is kind of impossible for a lot of people. Okay, it may sound silly, but you have to master one hand before you can go to the next hand. It's kind of like the whole situation if you're in an airplane and you need to give your the oxygen mask pop down. You have to give yourself oxygen first, then your child. So, yourself, your child. You do one at a time, okay? All right, stay with me. Now, what I actually have is exercises. And if you decide I can play them here and you can mimic, but it's not the same as what I'm going to do with it because it's going to give you a visual aspect as well as the actual physical aspect, and it's going to give you the auditory. So physical, tactile, and auditory is what I'm giving you for one exercise. This exercise is, I call them playing with numbers. So you place your fingers um, like this right here, okay? You see, you have your hand like this right here, like a ball, almost like a ball. Now, your hand naturally goes to that position. I know a lot of people are they frown upon that because a lot of musicians play like this right here. But if your hand naturally does it, it must be good for your hand to be in that actual position naturally, right? So this is how we're going to do it. For the sake of learning, you shake your hand out and just let it drop. It goes to that position by itself, okay? Now, each one of your fingers, they actually have a number. Let's start back there. Okay, now, your thumb is always going to be number 1. Your pointer finger is always number 2. And number 3 is always your middle finger. Your ring finger is always going to be number 4. And your pinky is always going to be number 5. Not sure if you heard that because I think I was covering my mic. Let's do it again. So, thumb is always number 1. 2 is always your pointer finger. 3 is always your middle finger. 4 is always your ring finger. And 5 is always going to be your pinky. And the hands are mirror images, so it's exactly the same for both hands. Okay? That makes sense? So now, let's play an exercise. I'm not going to go into detail as far as how I have it written or how it actually looks on here, but I'm going to play it so you can see. So these exercises, I recommend you do them 4 times each. So it'll be a cycle, and then you go back and do it again, okay? I'm going to give you a few of them. So you have the regular one here. Now, another tidbit. Every exercise, I want you to do it slow. Like, slow? Why am I doing it slow? If I want to play a fast song, wouldn't I play it fast? No. See, the logic behind music is so much more different than a lot of things. Well, I guess it's typical because when you're a baby, before you learn how to run, you have to learn how to walk. You have to learn how to stand first. You have to learn how to crawl, roll over, crawl with your arms on the floor. But you don't learn how to run as soon as you start walking. You have to learn how to walk and be strong enough to keep your balance. This is your balance. Playing slow strengthens the muscles in each one of your individual fingers. You want your fingers to be on the same page. So if you play something, you don't have any limitations. And we're not going to play with one finger. If you want to play with one finger, this is not the video for you. I don't want you to waste your time and your energy watching a YouTube video and giving me a view because you want to take the easy way out. You have 5 fingers, use them. It's easy. Use your fingers. The only way to strengthen your fingers is by using them. So once again, this exercise, I want you to just 2, 2, 2, 2. I want you to actually feel the piano under your fingers. Don't just play it. It's not a motion. It's an exercise. You do exercises to get stronger, right? That's one exercise. And here's another one. Taking it down. That was ascending. This is called descending. Now, each one of these exercises I want you to do 4 times. So if your hands are tired, that's a good sign. But if your hand's cramping up, you probably need to see a doctor because that's not good. And as we go through this process, I want you to feel the piano first, and we'll begin to actually go over exercises or techniques on how to sit properly. It's not a push for that at this moment because you haven't done anything. You don't know anything about the instrument. You want to spend some time investing something into the instrument so it makes sense for you to do stuff with the instrument, okay? All right, so let me give you another one. Okay? Now, like I said, I'm not going to give you every exercise, but I want you to play those exercises 4 times a piece. But since you don't have my class, those that don't have it, so I could just give you this one, just the regular C major scale. Do it slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the 5? I'm counting my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the way you would position your fingers, you put your thumb on the C and your pointer finger on the D, middle finger on the E, the fourth finger on the F, and then the fifth finger on the G. Okay? This is a 5-note major scale. Very important. Good information. It strengthens your fingers and gives every finger a chance to actually grow. But slow and steady wins the race. We're trying to get our fingers to actually work for us, not against us, okay? Slow and steady wins the race. So now, every note, it doesn't matter if you have a piano or a keyboard, press the note down so you can feel it hitting the bed of the actual instrument. It's not about playing loud, it's about playing full. Okay? Okay. Now, this is a 5-note major scale. Once again, I'm probably going to have it on the screen somewhere. The formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. Okay? All right. You find first the name of the scale you're trying to play, which in this particular case is which note? C. So thumb is on C, pointer's on D, middle's on E, ring is on F, and then 5 is on G. That concludes this video, people. So go back, take your time, and do this. So if you want a deeper understanding, that's how you reach out to me. I can show you, and I can see where you are. I do all my lessons via Zoom. I don't really do anything in person since this whole pandemic thing. I have a young baby, so I'm you got to be realistic here. Be realistic. Even though some people think the pandemic is over, that's fine. That's your choice. As long as you're doing it outside of my house, that's fine. But as for me and my house, we're gonna follow the rules, and we're not gonna have any issues. We haven't lost anybody in our family on both sides, my wife's family or my family. So I'm gonna take the necessary steps to protect my kids, as well as my household. So you pick and choose and do how you want to do it. I'm going to pick and choose and do it how I actually want to do it and I see fit, okay? But that's part of the problem, part of the issue that we're talking about. But at the end of the day, if you want to actually take a lesson, I could do a one-on-one with you on Zoom. But you have to actually message me. And I'll have everything in the description so you have a way to contact me so we can continue this whole process, okay? This is only one of the phases. Let's go all the way to the end. Remember, anything is musically possible, and I am the music professor, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.